1 minute. Five, four, three, two, one.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Well. It's your boy, Pastor Ramon, a.k.a. Pastor Ray. And as you can see, I'm here with Minister 3J, Julian Jackson, my brother. And we just want to welcome you to The Well. Listen, take a moment if you're watching this encounter. We want to invite you to like this, and we want you to share this to your pages. We want you to share this to your network, share this through your messenger, share this link in your text messages, share the link in your emails. Just go ahead and share it all over the place. If you haven't been with us before, The Well is a community based on faith, based on being real, being authentic, being true. And we are all about encountering, becoming, emerging, and sharing. What does that mean? All right, well, I'm glad 3J asked. What that means is you encounter the well, you become the well, you emerge and share the well. Yeah. And the word well is synonymous with things like Jesus. So if you encounter Jesus, you become more like Jesus, you emerge and share Jesus. And that's what the woman at the well did.
I like that.
If you encounter love, you become love, you emerge and you share love. So we want you to encounter the well today or tonight. We want you to become the well that's filled with knowledge, filled with wisdom, filled with love. And then we want you to emerge from here and go and share it. All right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Who came up with that?
Listen, I did, man.
Word?
The Holy Spirit came up with it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. That's how
she used me. The Holy Spirit used me.
I like that answer, bro.
Listen, we have the 5 P's that we want to make sure that you that everything we do should lead you down a path, and that path should lead you to one of these 5 P's. I'm gonna let 3J go ahead and handle it.
How you have put me on the spot like that? So you got your 5 P's, which are passion, purpose, promise, peace, and power.
Say it one more time for the peoples.
One more time?
One more time for the peoples.
Passion, purpose, promise, peace, and power. I like the power.
That's all right. The power. You know what I'm saying?
You
talking about power.
Woo! You just feel it, yeah.
Holy Ghost feel power.
Hey. Power.
Let me say hi to all the people that are watching as well, to my grandmother Ellen, to Annie, to Mama Annie, to Mama Helen, and to my cousin Donald. Just want to say hi to all those people that are watching. Thank you for watching. Make sure you share this on your page, share it with other folks. To Miss Nikki, yes, hello there. Yes, I know who you are, Nikki.
Yeah.
Listen, tonight we're going. Listen, y'all, we made it. In case you, if you're not,
this is the part 3.
This is part 3.
Oh man!
So if you're not logged into, sorry y'all, I know y'all see me reaching for the screen because I'm trying to operate things here.
Reach.
But if you're not logged into our email system, you need to make sure that you hit me up at wearethewelldc@gmail.org. wearethewelldc@gmail.org, and let me know so that I can plug you in so that you can get emails notifying you what's going on with the well constantly. Man, listen, tonight, I didn't mention, the well is all about questions. So you know how most traditional churches are all about preaching and giving you the right message and the right context of a message. Mm-hmm. It's not that we don't do that, but we believe in asking all the right questions. Because when you ask the right questions, it provokes people to do their own inward thinking, their own soul searching. I'll give you an example of this from the Bible. What's up, Lisa? What's up, Monika? I'll give you an example from the Bible.
Okay.
One moment.
One moment.
Jesus turns to his disciple. He says, "Who do you say that I am?" You know what I'm saying? Like,
I remember that. I remember that scripture.
That's some deep stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was the questions that Jesus asked that oftentimes led people to doing that own inner search.
They had to speak for themselves, not just what everybody was speaking, but what did it mean to you?
Exactly.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? I get
so
that.
so that's what the well is all about. The well is all about asking the right questions to help you do your own inward thinking. All right. So listen, we have a dynamic panel tonight.
Hey man, we got a bomb panel tonight. Woohoo!
We are fine. Listen, we made it. This is the third part of our first 3-part series, the intersection of hip hop and church.
Hip-hop,
if y'all have been enjoying it, I want y'all to just type in a heart emoji or a clap emoji or a 100 emoji. Just put in something down there, letting us know that you've enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
Hip hop or something. It's just
Yeah, type the words hip hop. You know something. We tonight are going to try to talk about whether or not we can coexist, whether church and hip hop can coexist. I believe they do because I believe that I'm part of the hip hop culture and I'm also a pastor. So, I mean, in some ways, the church does coexist. But I want to know what you all think, and we want to see how we can work our way to getting there. So, super producer Jackie, who's back there with the Amplify Network. If you have not liked the Amplify Network page, go like it on YouTube and on Twitter and on Facebook and all the other platforms that they're on. We've got a great panel with us, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to move on into it so we can introduce them.
Let's get them in here, man. Let's get started.
Yo, what's up,
Look
family?
at them beautiful people right there. What's up, y'all?
What's up,
What's up?
Listen, tonight we are finally we're concluding this 3-part series that we've had, and I mean the folks who have been tuned in have been amazing. I see the folks down there. That's right, Nikki, who's putting in part 3. Let's go. Manika, hip hop. Donald giving us the 100 sign. That's right. It's time for the shenanigans. Go ahead and share this. Go ahead and share this to your pages. Share this all over your group. Send a link to somebody in their text messages. Say, look, you got to watch this tonight. You got to watch this. We want to talk about the fact of whether or not church and hip hop can coexist. And you all know, I've already reintroduced you to 3J, Julian, my brother from another mother, same father, who is a dynamic minister in his own right, a dynamic rapper, a dynamic hip hop artist, who has gone all over from church to church, from place to place, community to community, representing the gospel of hip hop and the gospel of Christ. Man, you got anything to say to the people?
You sliced that completely. Like, you sliced that. But to God be the glory for another day. 3J stands for Jehovah God, Jesus Christ, and justice. Without those three, I can't be free. So I'm ready. Let's get it. I'm ready for
That's right.
Thing. Let's go.
Listen, I'm gonna go over to my man, he's to my right. I think on screen he's to my left.
That
but listen,
guy.
guys, you know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, everybody's gonna start calling you that, man. And I need to put a word out. I'll let everybody that's on this panel call you that, but outside of this, that is our phrase. So can't nobody outside of the well folks call you that, okay? Even though all those people that are watching, y'all can go ahead and type in my guy. I'll allow the people that are watching to say my guy just this one night only. This one night
only in the chat though. Don't say it in person.
Only in the chat.
Only in the
chat. You gotta have a special code to say that in person.
Thanks, cuz. Right. It says he's to my right on screen. So to my right is my brother, my guy, who is down south, is an amazing guy, amazing husband, amazing guy of ministry, amazing, true to his word. Listen, listen.
Nah, we not even about to act like. Nah, we know. I know why you did that. Because in the pre meeting, you slipped up a little bit. I know why you did that. Get it right on camera. I love it.
That's right. It's an inside thing. It's an inside thing, man. It's an inside thing. Listen, y'all. Brandon, I just want y'all to know how smart this guy, accomplished this guy is. He's working at what's called GCFA, which is under the Methodist umbrella. But listen, Brennan just got 3 master's degrees.
Salutes.
Woo!
Salutes.
And I don't know how he did it, but he accomplished it. So listen, heads down, heads off to you, man. What do you have to say to the peoples tonight, man?
Listen, man, black at it again. We black at it to win. That's it, man.
I like that.
It.
I like that. Black at it again. Black at it to win. I love that.
We got it to win.
If you've never met this queen that is down below me to the right, let me tell you a little bit about this queen. I have the privilege of knowing her as our director of arts for the Well, but that's small in comparison to the scale of things that she's accomplished in her life. She is, let me see, a dancer, a mother, a devoted wife, a poet, a freestyle artist. She is a poet laureate. She is a brand ambassador. She is a designer. She is
count it all up.
a manufacturer. She is like it goes on and on and on and on and on.
All the fingers.
But she's known as that's right. She's a haiku finalist, champion, world-renowned hip-hop poetry artist.
She was given one
Kim
gift and came back
B.
5.
Miller.
Woo!
Kim, is there anything you want to share with the people?
Wow, y'all introductions are great. I need to take y'all on the road. I've been missing out. Only thing I have to say is let your words speak like your heart does.
Oh, that was
Love it.
God.
Love it. Listen, everybody.
So can we get a disclaimer right now that everybody says what they have to say before Miss Kim speaks? Like no matter what the topic is.
I don't know.
Nobody goes behind Miss Kim. Nobody goes behind Miss Kim.
But if you let me, I'm gonna introduce one more person on this panel who
Oh,
always seems to have a dynamic last word, and so that's my brother, who is definitely being introduced last, but definitely not least. He is a dynamic pastor, man of God, father, friend, brother, a pioneer of his time.
Mm-hmm.
He is a hip hop head. He is one of the dopest pastors I know that's just bringing a fresh word, that's bringing a fresh perspective, that's not afraid to say it like it is.
Yeah.
Straight off the streets, if I respectively can say that to the pulpit, my man is sharp. And so I want y'all to just help me in giving a warm welcome to my brother, Pastor Tommy Murray. I call him Pastor Tommy, Pastor T. Pastor Tommy, say something to the people, man. We can't hear you, Pastor T.
You on mute?
You're still on mute.
That's how dynamic is. He ain't got to be off mute to say something.
He's still.
No, I still can't hear you.
There you go, right there.
There we go.
Hey. What's up, party people? I'm so glad and honored to be with you tonight, and I'm so excited to get to spend time with you and all of our friends across the country.
The conversation again. If you're watching this, please like this, comment, share, so we know that you're watching. We've been having this conversation about hip hop and church. No, Kim, we can see you. Blink your eyes for me, so I know you're not frozen. Yeah, no, I see you. Blink your eyes for me.
Hey, you're cracking a day. Well, let's go.
And let's just do a quick review. Over the last couple of weeks, we've talked a lot about the two cultures, the fact that the two cultures are very dominant cultures. We've seen the church sort of slip in its dominance of the culture. And we've seen hip-hop, sure enough, rise in its dominance over the culture. We see it from coast to coast over the globe. Both of these cultures are very, very well represented. Hip-hop is the language of relevance, it seems, right now for the people. And we're trying to find out if there's a road to coexisting between the institutional church and the culture of hip-hop. We also had Dr. Tony Keith come on, who is an educational MC that gave us the history of hip-hop. He talked a lot about the fact that hip-hop is a culture. It's represented in the language, in the dress, in the style, in the communication between folks who are urbanized, if you will, folks who were set aside, folks who were not of the dominating cultures. And we see that even as we have talked about sort of comparatively the movement of Jesus, the movement of colonization, we've seen it through history sort of manifest itself in so many different ways to the place that it is now. So the question, right, that is on the table for us to answer for folks today, or at least help guide them to, is can the church and hip-hop really coexist in unity? And I want to start with Pastor Tommy and ask you this question since you're new to the panel. As a pastor, but just as a person in general, what role has hip-hop played in both your personal and your ministerial life?
Well, hip hop had played a major role in my personal life Um, as I shared with you before, I grew up in Maryland. See what I'm saying? Grew up in Maryland, and
Merlin, hey.
and in our culture, go-go is the main music, but go-go mixes with hip hop. So the lyrics. So once I branched off from go-go and went into the hip hop world, it really spoke to me because they were telling some of the same stories of things that I have seen or was experiencing at that time, so I could relate. And then as I received my calling and moved to where God will have me to be, hip hop has always been there. Always loved the music. Always loved the beat. So it has just been a part of my life. It's part of me. So even though now I'm a pastor, hip hop hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And let me ask you, we've sort of talked about how, and I think 3J sort of coined this at one point, but my cousin says "Go Terps." He's representing your shirt right there. Um, um, do you? We've had this conversation about hip hop, especially the different forms of hip hop, being a calling from God. As a pastor, does that make sense to you? Can you agree with that at all? That there's a gift, a special gift that God places in us when it comes to certain forms of hip hop, rap, dance, whatever that form is, that they can be considered callings of God or gifts of God.
Yeah, because hip hop is a way in which you communicate with people, right? It takes awesome gift to be able to take words and put words together and tell a story and make the words rhyme at the end, right? It takes a gift to be able to paint and draw and do graffiti. It takes a gift to be able to have the mindset to create your own clothing brand or and everything that goes with hip hop. So that takes a gift to do that, and that gift can be used within the body of Christ. So I do believe it's a natural gift because all of us can't do that.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
confirmed what I said.
yeah, yeah. I,
Yeah.
That's funny.
I don't want to ignore the fact that you gave a shout out to Go Go as well, because people don't always
Hey,
put Go Go in with the hip hop culture, but it
hey.
is. Did you mention the beef that used to be between New York and DC? Uh,
Now I was going to leave that alone. I was going to leave that alone, but just to set
That was your best bet.
the
That was your best
Yeah.
yeah
Just leave it alone.
to set the context, in the DMV, I mean, we loved go go, and there used to be unspoken beef between DC and New York, right? They always say that DC was the baby New York. And so it was like, oh, you can't listen to rap, whatever. So when you listen to go-go and then you hear some of the lyrics they saying, like, man, this joint cranking, man. They was creative. But all along, they was watching MTV Raps and taking the songs from Eric B. Rock, Chubb Rock, you know what I mean? Essence used to hit Chubb Rock stuff all the time. And then when you find out that it was rap music, you was like, oh, okay. So then you started to branch off and wanted to hear the original songs. And so I think that beef has kind of gone away. Far as in the music, each DC, Maryland, respect New York, and vice versa. So and we know that hip hop really started in New York. We give props to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
and I want to frame
No,
If it
no
wasn't
beef,
for the
Miss Kim.
Bronx.
No beef, y'all. No beef.
I don't know. Was it the Bronx? It could have been Brooklyn.
For those of you all watching, Kim and Brennan are both from New York. They're straight out of New York people.
So am I.
I want
The
to
Empire.
God has spoken.
listen.
Brooklyn's in the house.
Producer, our producer,
Shout
from
out.
Amplify Network
Shout
is
out
from New York
Brooklyn.
as well. I want to make this real for people. So if you're watching, y'all, this is a real moment that I want you to make sure again that your networks are watching, especially if there are some folks that are not sure yet about how they feel about hip hop and church being fused together. Kim and Julian, I want to focus on you guys just a little bit. So you all are spoken word artists, rappers, dancers. And I want folks to understand this. I include things like dance, poetry, clothes, designing, because that all is encompassed in hip hop culture. We do hip hop an injustice when we start to say, well, you're a hip hopper, so you're a rapper. And that's it, right? Like the category of hip hop is open. It is a culture. It's a culture. And so you have to include all those things that belong to the culture. But I want you to frame it and make it real for people. Let's talk about the experience that you all have as performers when you go to churches, so that people can understand how this gets real. How do you feel? Do you feel like you're embraced from the church holistically? Do you feel like you're shunned from the church? What are the experiences that you have personally with the church as a hip hopper?
All right, so who's going first? Ladies first,
You
or?
are. You are.
Oh, okay, bet. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Bro, we already said you can't go behind her.
Right. So I've had good and bad experiences being a MC minister of rap. I've had my churches where I've had fun. The kids and even the adults were ecstatic. They had great energy, great vibes, everything. It was just an amazing feeling. And then I had the churches where, they kind of looked at me like, what are you doing up here? What are you doing? You're not singing. You're not preaching. You're not giving the scripture. You're not doing the program sense. So what are you doing up here? And I've actually had a pastor. I've just finished ministering with one of my friends. Shout out to Miss Tammy Hayes. I just finished ministering with her, and the pastor went up to her and told her, we don't do rap music in my church. The thing is, the pastor didn't know I was right there. So when I heard it, I was like, well, dang, okay, well, I have nice words, but I had words. And so, I got in my emotions because I was like, well, you know what? So, yeah, you don't like rap music? All right, fine. That's why your kids ain't here now. That's why the kids ain't trying to come to church no more, because y'all ain't trying to relate to them. This is why that I'm going. Like, I'm literally going on the fact because you don't have rap music in your church is why y'all not growing. Like, I was literally going because I got in my emotions at that point. However, of course, calmed myself down, got myself over it. But then it really just struck like, wow, they really don't accept us like that. Like, it felt racist to an extent. You know what I'm saying? Being a part of the same body as you, and yet because I'm doing something different, you're not rocking with me. Just like what I mean by with racist is I'm human just like you, but because of my color, you're not rocking with me. You know what I'm saying? And it went sides to the same thing. So again, I had my good experience where I loved it, and then I had my experience I was like, dang, but I'm not gonna lie, it made me stronger within the process. Miss Kim, go ahead and rip this mic up, I'll hurry it up in some bit, so go ahead.
Well, my first thing is for people who have a problem with rap or poets or rappers. I don't rap personally. You poet, you have the capability of rapping. I am not a rapper, again, I repeat that. However, when you start deciding who has talent, who put you in that chair? Who gave you that robe, Judge? Because who are you to decide what talent is good enough for God's people? So let's start there. So a singer is good enough for God's people, a dancer is good enough for God's people. So when did you get that interpretation? Because I would like it also to be able to tell what's godly enough for his people. So that's one way to start looking at it. If he gave me a gift, are you telling me I couldn't use it? Or are you saying I should use it but not around you? So just be careful when you're starting to tell people what to do and not to do with their gifts. That's one. Yes, I have also been to the churches that have been like, poetry, yes. And I've been to the ones that are like, poetry, okay. And I've even been to the one where the congregation loved it, and I could tell pastor really wasn't up on it. It was like, yeah. So now I'm at this stage in life where it is, you may not like me, but you're going to hear me. And so I went and did me. So I'm going to leave everything on the table, because when I see him, he ain't going to ask me about bruh or sis. He going to say, I sent you there to touch that little girl in the back, that little boy in the front pew. That's what I sent you there for. Who cares if so-and-so didn't get with it? I sent you there to touch a soul, not to hear crap.
Okay, now that she done broke that barrier, we could really be raw tonight. Let's go. Thank you, Miss Jones.
I think I think a lot of it is really, Kim, it sounds like you're saying like you got to speak your truth. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like you
Yes.
have to really
Yeah.
dig down and find out what truth is for you. And are you in touch with that truth? Pastor Murray, um, is a pastor when you hear this from artists, um, where does that touch your spirit? What resonates when you hear people saying that they don't feel like they're yet at a place where they're received for their truth in the body of Christ, especially in the institutional body of Christ.
I tell them to keep pushing forward. If you know in your heart this is what God called you to do, then you must do it. Whether they are receiving it or not, because at the end of the day, you have to stand before God, just you and God, one on one, and God's going to hold you accountable. God said, I gave you instructions. I gave you the gifts and talents to do these things. Did you do it? You know what I mean? And you can't give excuses about this person, and that. You got to do what God called you to do. As a pastor representing the body of Christ, and I shared with us, in our pre-meeting that it all depends on the leaders. You know what I mean? Different people are called to do different things at certain times. Um, Certain people are called to minister to certain people. So just because you run into a roadblock, you may run into a leader or a pastor of a church, that person is not called at that time to do the same thing that you're called to do, right? Y'all just might not be connected right now. You know what I mean? You're called to reach these certain people. They called to reach these certain people. So y'all just don't line up right. Y'all all trying to reach everybody. It's just different avenues that we go on. So I just tell you to be encouraged. Stay encouraged.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it resonates with me too. And I think, right, like there's the place, and we're going to talk a lot about in a second how to think about moving forward. But I think that you're touching on something that I want to note, and that is like you do have to discern um, the spirit and kind of go, okay, right? Like where are we called? What am I called to now? I think sometimes it's easy to get so caught up in, well, I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to bring what I got. I don't care who's there. And sometimes that might be the thing to do. I think there's other times where you got to pray about that and you kind of got to know, okay, like Jesus said, right? You go here and you're not accepted by these people, dust your feet off.
That's
If
right.
they're not willing to receive your word. So you really have to be in prayer about what, where you're called and what your mission is when you walk into any place to minister or perform or to do any of that. You know what I mean? That's something that just sort of
Yep.
sits with me in that place. Um, I think, uh, Brennan, you talked about this kind of as we talked before, but you kind of framed this question to us before. You said knowing the history of the relationship between church and hip hop. I think you phrased the question: how do we become more proactive and less reactive? How, explain what that question means. Why would you ask that kind of a question, or what does that mean?
And speaking from the church standpoint in this, yeah, I mean the church has been late to a lot of trends, quote unquote trends or movements, fads or even just evolution. Period. There was
Mm,
times when pianos weren't allowed in the church, drums weren't allowed in the church, dancing wasn't allowed in church, and now these things, for the most part, are a part of pretty much every worship service. And so it with this relationship between hip hop and the church, I would love for the church to move to the point where it's not jumping on the bandwagon, and it's in a way, just assisting in another culture, elevating itself, and in turn elevating the church as well. I believe that there could be a beautiful marriage between the church and hip hop that one reaches a generation that is missing from the church, but also like helps us to do our job as Christians of spreading the gospel into all of the world. But there definitely has to be some mending of fences, mending of emotions, some releases of power, and some conversations and gaining of understanding between the two.
That's that word, you.
I want to start some controversy.
That's
I do.
that's that word power.
Yeah,
Power.
That power.
I don't know if we should talk about church and power. That's a whole different conversation. But
you can't talk about church without it.
That's facts too. So, Brennan, it's funny that you said that the instruments alone and just certain type of styles weren't allowed in church at the time. So, is it safe to ask, are you saying that technically the black culture wasn't allowed in church from the jump?
I mean, we can bruh. Yo, see, I had to catch B for a second and realize we in a different space. No, I mean, when you just look at it, church, black people in general weren't accepted in, let's say, American Christianity. We go back even to when the Bible was first introduced to slaves. It was a redacted Bible. There were certain portions of it where it was like, nah, we can't let you have that, because if we let you have that, you'll understand how powerful you are. So it's like, I mean, in that respect, black culture, black people weren't always accepted in the church, there are still remnants of those movements and those actions in the church now. And absolutely, I believe hip hop and its it's just authenticity, its rawness, its creativity is one of those things, because in that, it's hard to control something that is as authentic and creative as hip hop is. In the church, for a long time, has been about control.
Yeah. Ooh, we about to step on something, though.
I want to give a shout out to my grandson T2, who is definitely
T2.
What up, and also it looks like Rika, who is watching as well. Pastor Tommy, again, I want to come back to it, and I don't want to just put you on the spot. I want to put both of us on the spot, being as though we're servants in the pastoral role of the church. And let's talk about how. You talked about the fact that hip hop has been a part of your personal upbringing. Are there ways now in which you find yourself integrating hip hop in your own in your own parish, in your own church community? You guys, Pastor Tommy Murray is pastor of Brighter Day United Methodist Church, 2 locations, 1 pastor, and so I just want to give a shout out to Brighter Day folks. But yeah, Pastor Tommy, do you see yourself incorporating that in your own sort of way in ministry?
I do. So in my area in which I serve, in Southeast DC, you have to be connected to the streets in some type of way. You have to have that hip hop culture in you. You have to be able to speak the lingo of the people. You have to talk the talk, as well as walk the walk. You can't be fake now. You can't be that. But I'm gonna bring it together. I'm gonna go back to what my man B said. The church is late to the party. And he's right on time with that. And remember, I talked to you before about this, and it's a term we use in the city, and maybe they use it all over. I'm not sure. That the church has become get-wits, right? And when I say church is get-wits, that means we wait till something is evolving, and we wait to see that it's being successful or whatever, and then
like everybody
we jump on
GameStop stock right now.
Yeah, everybody trying to jump on board, right? And you late, right?
True.
That's a good one.
True.
That
was good. True.
Yeah. and you can see it. You can see it from the top to the bottom, right? We follow trends. We're afraid to step out and set them. We're afraid to do what God has called us to do. Like I gave example like this before. You know, at first, especially for pastors, oh, the thing was everybody had to wear custom suits, right? Then it came the whole bow tie thing. Everybody wanted to wear bow ties, and now it's cool to wear jeans and tennis shoes. And it's like, dude, I've been doing that, right? You seen the picture that came up at the beginning? That was like 10 years ago. I've been doing that, right? Because that's who I am, right? So I'm not. It's not a fad thing. So, and the church does that. They see things and then they jump on board, and all they waiting for right now, like Miss Nikki J on here saying, like, how long is it going to take? The church is waiting for another church to do it. They're waiting for it to see it being successful, waiting for it to see bringing in people, and then it's like, oh, let's do it now. Like, dude, where you at? You 10 years late. I always say this: the church technically is like 3 years behind. Remember back in the day, everybody in the church said Facebook was evil. It was from the devil. Every church has a Facebook now, right? You see what I'm saying?
We're not even going there. We're not even going.
We're not gonna go there.
Literally, this time last year, me and Ray was having this conversation, bro. This time last year, right before the pandemic, we were having a conversation about virtual ministry, doing actually the well. Period. It was the well. We was having this conversation about the well and just the innovation that was coming from it and how it could grow. And, you know, listen, that ball got dropped and then the pandemic happened and everybody started doing it.
And so it's okay. And I just want to acknowledge and not hating on the body of Christ, because we understand, you know, some people are called to be followers, to get on board. Some are called to be leaders and start things. So that's why I'm encouraging those of us who God puts on our heart to do things. You got to go ahead and lead, because sooner or later somebody's going to follow along, right? Mm-hmm. So just be encouraged. So I hope I didn't get off. No.
I think you're right on, man. I think you're right on. Manika says so true. Sister Pam says so true. You know, I think, and so I do want to start talking a little bit about we've been talking about it. I've been framing it, but I want to talk about moving forward and the steps forward. So, I want to go back. Julian and Kim, 3J and Kim, you guys have talked about not always being received. Mm-hmm. From your perspective, what are the ways in which you would like to see the institutional church be more accepting, or like what change would you want them to have? Because I think one of the things, and I want to put a pin here, when I had the folks who were from the LGBTQ community a couple of months ago, one of the things that I got from people afterwards was people who did not necessarily agree with the lifestyle were able to call and say, or text me and say, but wow, I don't agree with what they're doing, but I don't think I had ever looked at them as people, right? They were like, I hadn't even looked at them as people, right? So you can't get to,
which is crazy.
You can't find the solution of a thing, right, if you're not looking at people as people, or you're not looking at their gifts as gifts from God. So coming into this, knowing that people don't always look at your gifts, mm-hmm. your talents, as gifts from God, now that we're framing it as gifts from God, mm-hmm. what is it from the institutional church that you think could help churches all over the place begin to move forward in how do they move forward?
All right, so before Miss Kim burns the mic again, let me go ahead and try to get my stuff out there. So first and foremost, for the church, when y'all hear rap, shall I say, just rap music, number one, understand it is an acronym. And it is an acronym, RAP, which is rhythm and poetry, which is why me and Miss Kim fit right into it, because this is what we are.
It's good for people to know.
So now with that, when you hear the word rap, understand we are not street and we are not secular. Yes, our talent, our gift can be translated in both, but that is not what it is. Again, our gift is music. We can translate in both, but we're not secular and we're not street. We can just talk to the people and relate to them in that sort. Second thing with that, stop worrying about the fact that we're secular and street and actually listen to what we are saying. And I think that's the problem that people have with rap music in general. You don't listen to the message that's actually behind it. Sit back and listen of what we're saying before you start throwing your stones. Before you start saying, oh, well, y'all ain't talking about now. Y'all just like them out there. You don't know because you're not listening to us. So I think the overall thing is sit back and listen and take the time to listen as we sit back and forcefully listen to y'all half of the time. And I don't mean to put no shade on it, but I'm putting it where it is. If I got to sit back and listen to y'all, have a chance to sit back and listen to us. Miss Kim, go ahead and burn it now.
Stop. I agree exactly. Everything he said was 100% true, 100%. And I would question the people who've heard there's nasty, quote unquote, because that's what they call that's nasty song. Okay, let's use the word nasty, even though that's not accurate. Okay, but you allow singers at church. Why did you automatically assume they were going to come and do God's work or sing God's song? So you can have discernment when you want to have discernment. So use that same discernment with rap and poetry and dance. Before you wouldn't have dancers because they would be twerking. But now you see you can have religious dance. So there is differences and differentiation in all things if you're willing to look for it. But if you're only looking for one thing, that's what you're going to find. So if you live in that box and decided to make it your coffin, don't come at us because we come with a different approach. We are trying to touch whoever needs to be touched. And there's more than one way to do the same thing.
As to follow on what she just said, we're here to touch. Just because we're not here for you don't mean that we're not there for another person. Just because you don't want to receive it don't mean the next person in the crowd doesn't want to receive it either. And there's no shade to this either. Just because you in the congregation don't want to hear it don't mean your pastor on the pulpit don't want to hear it either. He may be very, very interested, like, oh, wait. What you got there, young blood? I hear you. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, just because it's not for you, don't knock it for somebody else.
I think that the word discernment is so big because I think I think what you're saying, I think what you all are saying is so true, right? And I always try to like paint this for people who I think are watching sometimes that need to hear it really spelled out. So when you go to a church,
bring it together, Pastor. Bring it together now.
Yeah, I try to bring it together. Listen, that's a part of my hip hop gift. You know what I'm saying? Some people speak in tongues, some people interpret. Let me interpret the tongue. There you go. Talk to him. I hope that was church enough. Talk to him. So, if we're real, there are Sundays we go to church and we go, church was good. The pastor was really talking to me today. There are other Sundays you go to church and you go, well, it wasn't, church was cool. I really didn't get anything out of it, but it was good to be amongst the saints. There are times you go and your favorite choir is singing. I remember going to one of my old Baptist churches and we thought we had the best choir. Every choir, they did the best choir. And there were some Sundays people came just because that choir was singing. Mm-hmm. There are other churches where people do the same thing. Oh, such and such is singing today, or such and such is on, playing piano today, whatever. That's my favorite band. That's my favorite group. We all have our favorite Sundays and our favorite forms of worship. Mm-hmm. I think what we're saying in this discernment process is, and this listening process is understanding there's a place in the kingdom for all of us. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what, and so when you recognize hip hop is a gift, a spiritual gift, you become more receiving to those gifts when you recognize that there are all different ways. God is so creative that God has created so many different ways and paths to get to God. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop culture, going back to what Pastor Tommy said, if I want to wear my suit today, I want to express my praise and my worship in my suit and my tie, my suit and my bow tie. That's why you have people wearing suits and ties, other people wearing bow ties. If I want to wear my earrings today, or if I want to wear my locks today, or if I want to wear my weave today, right? That is how I'm presenting myself to God. Not me specifically.
No, man, but it's like, wait, what?
Nah, I found out today that AJ
and listen, there might be some folks that walk up in your. I think we said this There's some folks that might walk up in there, and Kim, you talked about people putting cloths on them. Maybe, right? You don't know where I came from. Maybe I run a whatever. We have to open ourselves up to the fact that we can worship God how we want to worship God as long as it's putting our best foot forward.
Amen.
You know what I mean? And to some people, wearing my loafers is the best foot forward. But to other people, wearing my stilettos is the best foot forward. To other people, wearing my Jordans are my best foot forward. I'm presenting what I have at the best I have. That's what's important. Yeah. Are you presenting your best to God? And then those who are bystanders are called listen to hear and not to criticize. You know what I'm saying? Listen to hear and not to criticize.
I want to push back.
Yeah,
I want to push back. It's not even, I don't even know if it's necessarily about presenting your best to God. It's about presenting you. Like yourself.
Talk to him.
Be me. Like, let me present me to God wherever I'm at, because that's where God wants to meet me. He don't want to meet me at my best. Like, he wants to meet me exactly where I am, and then with his help, I become my best. And so it's like, let's stop. Yeah, man.
And you just gave
confirmation
on the word that I gave last week. Yeah. Oh, thank you for that.
I'm with it, Brandon. Miss Nikki's question was asked, why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? Jesus said, it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. And that's Matthew 9:11-12. Thank you, Miss Nikki. That's so true.
That's it right there. That's the scripture.
So
that's the Bible. That's the thing. I mean, and I think that's the thing the church has to do, man. The church has to get back to like we have to let go of some of our man-made traditions and our man-made and man-formed customs, and really get back to what the Bible and what Jesus was all about. And I think if we do that, we can, like, and this isn't specific to just hip hop. With any emerging culture that happens, or with any change that happens, or any evolution of the world that happens, we can embrace it more if we embrace who Christ was.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good.
You guys have said let's listen. The way forward. I want to, and I'm putting the well is. You'll see the well commenting on this in the comments. We've said people listen, come listening with an open ear, right? We've said discern, really, like take the moment to discern. I want to add something in there, and I think Pastor Tommy would definitely agree. I think all of you all would agree. I think we got to pray about it.
Ooh, come on, yeah.
And I think when we pray, right, because a lot of us go to God saying, God, whatever you can do, just stop them from bringing this mess to the church. No. That's not the kind of prayer I'm talking about. When I say pray to God, right, like ask God, help you to receive what the truth is, right? God, am I approaching this in the right way? Right? Stop praying for other people all the time. It's pray for yourself, right? Like, can I
pray like Christ in the garden?
Say it again.
I was gonna say, pray like Christ in the garden. Like, God, listen, this ain't my cup, but if this is your will, let your will be done. Hip hop might not be your cup. That's cool. But if this is God's will, we gotta trust God enough that He's in control, that He gonna work it out. And if we can't do that, then what are we doing here?
Yeah. I think it's so good to have those biblical illustrations, man, of seeing. I mean, this is the thing, right? Like we've talked so much about this, but Jesus was not accepted. We had this pretty picture, right, of this new Jesus that we want to, Jesus is. We love Jesus. And when I do my one-on-ones, I always do my one-on-ones with people when they're new to the church or new. What I found surprising is amongst my friends who are mostly scholars, friends who are have made their way through a better part of living. The one question I ask almost everybody I sit down with when I do a one-on-one, I say, if there was a homeless person who could declare to you that they were sent by God, could tell you about your life without have ever talked to you a day, gave you the sense that they were an angel or someone that was sent by God to you, and this homeless person says to you, I want you to follow me. I want you to give up everything and follow me. I always ask people, could you do it? And I want to share that 9 out of 10 people that I ever sit down with have always told me, I know what you're asking me, but unfortunately my response is no. Literally, I have asked people, basically, if Jesus were to come back today, just like Jesus came back then, could you follow Jesus? Homeless, not of high title, lowly, but could give you the miracles. Would you be able to follow? 9 out of 10 people have told me no.
Sad story.
So I wrestle. I wrestle with people going, but the whole story that you celebrate, the person that you worship every Sunday is that person. How do you not say yes to that question?
I mean,
Let's just man. No, we not censoring yourself tonight. No.
Brendan,
no. All right, go ahead. I'll let it go for right now.
No, we've I mean, I think it's a thing. I mean, again, I think it's those man-made traditions. We in some of the just the culture of church that we've built as humans has like wouldn't allow us to receive Christ. I mean, it was the same thing back then. It was literally the same thing with the Sadducees and Pharisees. It was like, the man-made traditions built around the law, the law of Moses, or and everything like that, that didn't allow them to see Christ as who He was. And so that's the struggle we have, is to look past that, and to really be the church and really embrace. And this is what I'll say, more of the spirit and the intentions of the Bible versus like taking it verbatim, because we also have to understand that the Bible has been translated. So taking it verbatim, what I read from the King James or the NSRV or whatever version, it might not be the actual like definition of what the word was supposed to be when it was originally written. So it's like, and that's why when I read the Bible, I take it in. I take it in more as, okay, God, what were you trying to communicate in this moment? Not necessarily the exact words, but what were you trying to teach us about us in these moments?
Yeah.
Well, the beauty or the the fun part about what you said is, and I mean no disrespect, but the people who said no wouldn't have been asked. He went and got 12 disciples. I don't recall any scripture where one of them turned him down, because he went and got people like, well, he didn't go to religious institution. I'm not going to say where he is and wouldn't go right now, because I'm not going to say he wouldn't go to a church. But I'm saying he went and got lay people and made them disciples. He didn't get, the bishop from so-and-so and said, be a disciple. He got people who was going to walk with him. So if you said no, you wouldn't have been one of the disciples in the first place.
The beauty of that is that's hip-hop. Like, if you really sit there and think about it, hip-hop actually chooses not the qualified, but the unqualified to make up what they're going to and put them out there. Like, hip-hop is like, you're not going to just go out here and be like, hey, yo, the best man with the best looking clothes and everything goes, we going to make him the best rapper. Nah, it's a gift. And it's a discipline that you have to follow by. And Jesus sensed that out of the 12, that discipline that was in them was like, hey, y'all come with me. Y'all, I got y'all. Trust me. Y'all, we're going to make y'all rap around this world. Trust me. And they became hip-hop in a form where it couldn't be destroyed at. It's just, don't mind me.
I see the comment that that Valerie put up. That's the difference between coming to the church to be a member of the club and coming to find, I think she said, the way.
A new and better way of living I follow.
Right. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Kim, your point resonated with so many people. Pastor Tommy, were you about to say something? Did I cut you off?
No, I know. I was just going to say, that's unfortunately that's what the church has become, right? So when you get past 35, 40, you can't be the old dude in the club no more, right? You can't be the older lady
Please
in the
don't.
club no more. So go,
Please don't.
right? I got to
Please.
go play on the weekend. You know what I mean? So I can't stay out late. I'm gonna go to the service. I'm gonna go to the church. You know what I mean? They got everything there. They got good music. They got nice people there. Supposed to be nice people, good looking people there. So you know what I mean? That's unfortunately the church has become an older club in some places.
Wow.
Country club.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's the church
So-
club.
so-
It's people who think like me club.
Jinx.
Because it's
You better
comfortable.
think like
so-
me.
Right.
Ha, yeah.
You better.
I like that.
Because it's
I
comfortable.
like that.
Because facing opposing views isn't something that Christians do very well. Facing even a thought. I mean, even you look at. I mean, we got all these denominations, and folks will argue you down about which denomination is more pure or which denomination is interpreting the Bible correctly. And it's like. Even like we see it, it's evident in everything the church does, and I think it is more built on us being comfortable with a style of worship, with a way of worship, with a way of connecting with God, and seeing a lot of times anything outside of that is not being as pure, and that couldn't be any further from the truth. There was different churches in the Bible that worshipped differently, and they even interacted differently. So it's just I don't know when it happened or like where it happened, but at some point in church, we adopted this mindset that our way is the only way to truly get to Christ, and embracing beyond that is a struggle for us because we don't see that way, and that to me that is a lack of faith, because faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things. But it's if I can't see your way, I mean, in the end, it's your personal relationship with God. It's not my relationship with God. It's yours. And just like Ray, you my God, but you don't know my relationship with my wife, and I don't, 3J, I don't know your relationship with your wife, and I can't like. I can look in from afar and have my opinion, but that still doesn't change anything about your relationship.
Facts.
So, and I think that's again why that word discern is so. You have to be able to discern, or at least have an open ear, because we talked about listening to where God is pulling people, to what God is doing, to what the Spirit is doing, how the Spirit is moving. I think that's a place that we get lost. And here's the next point I want to bring up. I think you pray. I think you listen. I think you discern. But I think you do research.
That's a good.
I think because the Bible talks about studying to show yourself approved.
Yep.
That's, of course, it's talking about the Word of God. But I want to say we have to study culture.
Yes.
We have to study people. The church, the institutional church, does such a bad job to me of studying culture, of studying people. What do I mean? Even in how we market, Brendan, we talked about this before, right? When God laid on my heart to create the Well, it was because I understood that was a place in our culture that needed it, right? I had gone across the country and was able to be exposed to all these different forms of church, but I also become aware of the folks who weren't going to church and the reasons why they weren't going to church. So quickly, right? We need to do this to bring in more people. We need to do this to bring in younger people. Here's the problem: don't just do it, because here's the myth. The myth is if you build it, they will come.
Facts. And that's not
the myth.
true.
There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's evangelism. There's discipleship. And I don't mean discipleship by going out and passing tracts to people. Somebody asked me not too long ago when I was doing something I think it was the toiletry drive. They were like, "Do you have tracts you gonna pass out?" No, I don't have tracts I'm about to go pass out. I was like, why would I?
They thought you was a Jehovah's Witness. That's what. No offense. Love y'all dearly, but that's
Like, what age are we in? This is not the Flintstone age. I'm not passing out tracks. No. But here's what I'll say, right? Like, when we research and study, we start to understand there are new ways and inventive ways and creative ways. So what I find is that people want to have more dialogue. People want to have more conversation. Listen, people can Google the Bible. They can Google it. Everything they want to know, most of the stuff they want to know about if the Bible said something or not is on at their fingertips. Here's what they're looking for. They're looking for people to have the dialogue around the depth, the in-depthness of the word, right? How deep does this go? What's the historical context? What's the value that this brings to my life? Who said it? Why did they say it? Who were they preaching to at the time? Is the Levitical law for everybody, or is it just for the Jews, right? People are not dumb anymore. And to go back to Brennan's point, I want to make sure we wrestle with that. We have to deal with you're right about the translations, but let's go even further. When the Word of God was introduced to us as Black people, and we talked about this a little bit before, but it's a point worth repeating, we were brought into the aspect of church from an Anglo-Gallican English perspective, right? From a British perspective, from an England perspective. So that's, again, I know my grandmother and I have conversations about this all the time, and she's watching, but you have people go, well, it's not sacred music if it's not quiet. It doesn't move the soul if it's not peaceful and quiet, because the only way to be peaceful is quiet. But then they totally ignore, Pastor Tommy, how David danced out of his clothes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
or making a joyful noise.
You know what I'm saying? So if you making a joyful noise and dancing out your clothes, I just don't see how everything was soft, because I'm just not dancing that hard. It says, praise him with the loud cymbals and the clashing instruments. I don't know who's listening to a symphony and all of a sudden, well, I guess in a symphony that can be, right? But I mean, if we talking about bam, right? Boom, 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 boom. We have to wrestle with our own, and within our own culture of what we identify as good church. And for so long, in the old days, good church was considered, everything that was right was considered damn near white. If it was close enough to being white people, if it was close enough to looking white and sounding white, then we were forced to believe that it was good. And I think we're at a place where we're at a reckoning within our own culture to start identifying, no, my naps are good. My crinkly hair is good. My brown melanin skin is good. My hip hop culture is good. My go-go culture is good. And I think we have to push the embracing of our own culture. Kim, I know you were excited to see what's your girl's name? I know you were excited to see Miss Amanda Gorman on the how did you feel about the culture embracing that for such a big event?
I was pleasantly surprised. They tend to be open at the inauguration for poetry. Maya has read before, so I wasn't shocked that there was a poet reading, but I was pleasantly surprised by how they embraced it and listened. I only heard of one negativity, which I won't even repeat because I don't feed crap. Anyway, moving on. So, So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and each time I'm the person who believes when you feed someone something, you fed someone something from me. What does that mean? If a poet is recognized, then poetry is recognized, and then so am I. I'm not the person that it has to be Kim. If it's not Kim, it's not important. No, every person that drops a pebble in that water, I catch a ripple, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy for all the artists who got ripples because of what she said. Because now, this is the second time poetry has been in the forefront. America's Got Talent was a spoken word poet who won. She got up and they keep mentioning how moving it was. I'm like, have y'all not heard poetry? She was dope, yes, absolutely. I ain't taking nothing from it because there's nothing to take. But we out here every day. Of course, poetry has been dope a long time. You just haven't dipped into the poetic waters. You haven't dipped into the rap waters. So you don't know what these genres, what these artists out here doing, because here you are. And then she took the blinders off and you're like, wow, she did great. She is part of a ripple. Go see where the other people are.
Monica dropped a fire comment Like, I don't know if y'all seen it, but she
Go ahead,
just
read
dropped
it. Can you read it?
fire comment. She said, I've noticed a lot of
Yeah,
people
yeah,
want to
yeah.
hear your testimony as well. The real transaction with Christ in your life. Because some want to know if wait, hold on, let me get it together.
If what they,
Oh, because
Yeah, it's
someone
up.
because some want to know if what they're experiencing is God or something else.
Well, I tell people this. There's such a thing as soul food because only your soul can tell you what it is going to be fed with. Nobody, there's no such thing as universal soul food. And I'm talking about something I'm talking about something that touches your soul. If the same thing touched everybody, there'd be one verse and one book in the Bible.
Y'all see why we have to talk before her? Like, y'all see that now? Y'all see every time she talks and then we just stop and don't say nothing? That's why. She's a walking poem, yeah. Like you're just walking
You know,
poetic. Like I love it.
Pastor Tommy and Ray, I actually want to ask you all a question because and this is something that a lot of times for church, especially when there's an issue with church or church has an issue with someone else, the church expects that someone else or that something else, in this case hip hop, is supposed to come to the church to figure out the issue. And from my standpoint, what I read in the Bible is that the Bible says that if you are at ought with your brother or sister, that as you know, Christ
Come
instructed
to them.
us to go to them and have that conversation and figure it out. So how can we, I guess, moving forward as the church, take on that mantle of going to hip hop and mending this relationship?
I'm looking both that.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Pastor Tommy because he's.
Well, you got to remember this whole thing with God is all about relationship, right? Everything is about relationship, and it's no different. Um, when you remember when Jesus went to his disciples, most of them didn't come to him. Jesus went to them, right? So when you look at when he reached to his first disciples, Simon Peter and Andrew, they was in the sea, and Jesus was walking by the sea of Galilee. Jesus went to them, and so with hip hop, as in the church, we waiting for it to come into the church, right? When we need to go to the church, we need to go and develop a relationship. We need to get out of our churches, our church walls, and go into the streets, go into the community, and develop that relationship. It's all about relationship. Even with some of the comments on the network, it's all about relationship. It's all about testimony. That testimony is about relationship. How has God
Facts.
been involved in your life? Tell me the good things that God has done for you. Tell me the times when you prayed and God didn't answer it for you, right? But you still have a relationship. So they want to see how is your relationship with God, right? And we know in relationships, there's struggles, there's ups and downs and things like that. So people just want the authentic, right? And with hip hop, we just got to go out and reach people. I'm gonna let Pastor Rod go on this, but remember, Jesus said what? I want to make you fishers of men, fishers of women, fishers of people, right? And for those of us who know, when you go fishing, you use different bait to catch different fish,
That
right?
you do.
So when we fishing, if we want to get this particular person, right, we want to go get the lawyers and the doctors. I may send out one of the, I may send out Miss Kim to go get them, right? If I want to go get the brothers on the basketball court, I might send out 3J. You know what I mean? So you got to use different ways to reach different people because Christ was reaching everybody, and he used different ways. You got the homies from the block. I got the dudes up top. I got the dudes up top. All right. Yeah. So I mean, we as the church, we have to go out. That's all it comes back to. And I think this pandemic has made us do that, right? We can't sit inside the comfort of our walls now. We had to go out now. We have to go fishing a little bit more.
Right,
you know what I mean? We have to use our
right.
technology and things, right? So that's just my little thought.
If you guys get a chance, I haven't even totally shared this with everybody, but I'm pastoring the Bridge, which is the service over at Asbury United Methodist Church in Northwest, and our services come on at 5 o'clock on Sundays at the Bridge, DC UMC on Facebook. And my brother Minister LeVar preached a word, and he's our guest preacher for Sunday, but he talks about how you cannot be consumed with your stuff. And he talks about how the church has now lost its stuff and is forced to reckon with Jesus, right? It is forced to come face to face with Jesus and go, Jesus, now how do I do what you have asked me to do, right? How do I move away from all the stuff I thought was working, and the stuff meaning the building, and start to go outside of the building and use virtual technology and use all this other things, because I think God has officially moved a lot of us away from our stuff and our comfortability and our comfort zones and gone, okay, that was cute, but you misplaced your focus. I need you to focus on me. And so now that I've moved the buildings, now I moved all that, what you going to do? How you going to act? How you going to get people now? And I think God has forced us to find a new way, or alternative ways and creative ways to reach people. And you can't expect people to just show up on Sunday morning now. It's a whole new ball game.
Hey, shout out to your censorship.
Shout
out
Listen,
to that.
I want to talk a little bit. I want folks to...
Nah, and even the fight against even the whole move of technology, to me, was just something that was like, it was mind blowing to me. And it was something that, I think Ray, we talked about before, but even as a marketer and as a marketing professional, I would tell churches, like, all right, fam, how much you paying for your musicians this week? Whatever the range is, 200 to 1,000. And I would tell people, how many people do you have coming into church this week? Let's, on a good day, let's say 200. Most churches ain't got 200, but we're going to go with that number.
Sure.
When I would literally show people, like just through a Facebook ad, just one Facebook ad for a week with $200, how many people I could reach just with one message, with one post. And it's like, you're paying this money, and this is no shade at musicians or anything like that, but for me, it's let's look at where we're focusing our resources and things like that, and how we can connect with more people. Like you're focusing on only the people that come into your church with the money that you spend for your musicians. Because if I never come to your church, I will never know how good your choir is. I will never know how good your drummer is. I will never hear that organ roar. But if I take a part of that money and put it into a social media post or a Google ad or something like that, I can connect with thousands of people with this same message that you're giving on Sunday.
I thank God for Amplify. And if you're watching, if you haven't liked the Amplify Network page on both YouTube and Facebook, please do that. Also go, of course, and like the Well page, and the Kim B. Miller page and Brighter Day, all of that. We'll have a moment where we'll shout out everybody. But I just want to say this, right? Like, I want people to know it's not just about being on Amplify, because I am aware that I receive an audience from Amplify, but it's a two-way street, because Amplify has also received an audience from me, because I have made sure that I put dollars in my promotion, because there are folks, not only it's not about do I want the Well to just get big. It's the reason why I wanted to get big. I believe there's an avenue of evangelism to reach some folks that have turned away from the church, the traditional institutional church, that have gone, no, they have hurt me, they've shunned me, that's not for me. I want to introduce to them that there is a ministry for them that is willing to be real, authentic, ask the hard questions, admit that I might not always be right about everything. Just because you're a pastor does not mean that you're right about everything. It does not mean that you got the one-way street with God, and here's the thing, you should be seeking a relationship with God for yourself.
Right.
The pastor is just someone that is there to encourage you, motivate you, help you get through. But you need to have a relationship with God for yourself. And I think for too many churches, the pastors try to play God. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But I think that becomes the big place, right? Like, I want to put the money and finances behind what I'm doing because I believe that I'm called to God to do it, and I do believe it ain't for everybody. There are a lot of people that might disagree. A lot of people ain't gonna love what we do. And what I love is that we invite that. Even with the people on this panel, it is okay for Brendan to say, Pastor Tommy, you cool, but I gotta push back, or I don't agree. I can say, Kim, Jew, I don't know. Let's have a it's okay. I don't have nobody has to be right all the time. And I think church has set itself up. Part of its downfall is that it wants to in the power struggle, present itself as being right all the time. We're not right all the time. And so you got all these people who are falsely claiming it goes against the Bible. You ain't preaching the real word of God. Because we have been taught that if it isn't in our tradition and in our way, that it must not be the right way, as opposed to going, well, what did God mean there? What is Jesus really saying? Who was Jesus addressing there? We have got to get past ourselves and our sense of superiority if we're going to really be church. If we're going to really do the deep dive in. And so I don't know. I'm talking, but
where's
the
Bible?
I want to, because I know we're short on time, I want to say this. So pray, research, listen, discuss. I think you have to discuss. You have to have the conversations like we're having right now. So many people have sent in and said to me, yo, I don't totally know if I agree with hip-hop and church yet, but I appreciate the conversation. I showed Brendan and 3J some of these conversations. You know, I'm getting closer. I might not ever get there fully, but I'm getting closer. Have the conversation. Educate yourselves on what hip-hop is. You can Google hip-hop, and it'll give you the formation of hip-hop. Visit other places. Listen, get out of, and COVID has pushed this yet again, get out of your own context and go explore not just other churches, but go explore community events. Kim B is always posting community events that she's doing. Even online, there are these poetry slams and these things that are happening. Go. So that you can educate yourself. So when you do decide to build the ministries, you can build it with, the Bible says, in everything get understanding. So you can build it with understanding. You can build it with knowledge. You can build it with wisdom. You're not just going, yeah, let's do something hip-hop. And then you go invite somebody in the church, and then they come in and make a fool of themselves, and you're like, well, I didn't know they were going to do that. Of course you didn't know, because you ain't know nothing about the culture. Stop inviting people in just because you think it's the cool thing to do. There are, and pay attention to what I'm about to say. There are Christian hip-hoppers, Christian rap artists, Christian poets, Christian dancers who might not always be speaking or preaching or sharing in the form that we deem Christian hip-hop, because if you're a Christian hip-hopper, it does not necessarily mean you have to have the title above your head. You could be a poet and a rapper and a dancer, and in your heart is where the true Christianity is. So do your research, know the culture, and then have the conversations that will lead. I think I want to end with a few things. One, Pastor Tommy is a pastor. If people were trying to bring something new into the church, what is the conversation? What would you want? Because so many times parishioners are like, well, if the pastor does it, let's see if the pastor does it. They use the pastor as a guinea pig. What would do your heart justice to see your parishioners do if they wanted to present something new in the context of the institutional church?
If they first have that conversation with me, and just introduce it to me, you know, whatever it is. Let's talk about it, you know, one-on-one. Introduce it to me. Let me see it. Let me hear it. Let me read it. What we want to bring to the body, because as the pastor, you know, we are the shepherd, the covering of the church. So we got to watch, you know, what comes into the church, who comes into the church, what they're saying, what they're speaking, and make sure it's in line. And like I say, even with doing that, just because I might not feel it, doesn't mean that 10 other people, 12 other people, 50 other people in the church might not be feeling it. You know what I mean? That might not be my cup of tea, but you know, but if it's moving those people there and it's drawing people into the church to hear the word, you do. I mean, that's what you gotta do. But it's about that conversation. You got to have that open door, right? Like you say, as the pastor, you got to have that open door. You can't be like, oh, I know everything. I know what's best. God only speaks to me. He doesn't speak to you either, right? He didn't give you the vision. He only gave it to me. So you got to be open. And I think a lot of pastors are intimidated by that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to say thank you to y'all because this is a conversation we've been waiting to have, and Brandon, I know you happy, man. I know you happy because we have been pushing this, and let me tell you guys, for those of y'all who are still logged on, it has been a hard time and a long way getting here. We have seen spiritual warfare happen, an attack that has been huge. It was as if the devil just did not want this to happen. But I'm grateful for all of you all who have tuned in, who have logged on, who have shared this. I want to do a couple quick shout outs and then I want to come back and you guys just take about 30 seconds to 60 seconds to give a quick, final summary of what you're feeling from tonight. Please stay in contact with us if you want to. If you want to know everything that's going on with us, our social media handles are always out there. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on, shout out to my brother, Minister Tehran, who's on. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Facebook.
Tehran, what's good, Brody?
I know, man.
Tay-Tay!
You can find us at Encounter the Well on Facebook and on Instagram. If you are led to partner with us, there's a couple of different ways. Yeah, follow us. www.encounterthewell.org is our website. Check us out. We have listings up there as well and tell you a little bit more about who we are. If you want to partner with us in giving, you can text to give. It does take money to bring this type of stuff to you, but y'all, I believe that this is an evolution of church in the making. You can help us build this by giving to 84321 any dollar amount. So if that's $2, if that's $5, if that's $50, $100, just text any amount to 84321. We will receive it with love, and we will put it back into the atmosphere with love to help us build and help us to move this movement forward. You can also go to the website and click on the last tab, which is Give. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for the hip hop series, Park Royale Clothing. There are a couple of pictures, super producer Jackie, that you have of some of the clothes that David, who is a designer for Park Royale, has given us. There are a couple of hoodies, the Jesus Saves hoodies. Man, his brand is sick. He is. And I want to tell everybody, right, like, as I said earlier, hip-hop is a culture, so it doesn't mean that I have Christian above my head or the halo above my head. You go on his website, he does men's clothing, and you'll find all sorts of different looks for men. And so there are all sorts of expressive things up there. But this is a brand that he really was influenced by the Well and wanted to sort of create something that represented the Well. And so check it out. I will post those pictures on our social media. He'll be posting, I think, some of the pictures on his social media. Park Royale, ParkRoyel. They're in our websites. Kim B has her own branding that she's been doing. I don't know if I included some of the pictures, but you did see the picture of her at her stand that she had. You can find a lot of her stuff. We're still doing the competition. So if you want to win one of the hoodies, if you want to win one of Kim B's shirts, share this as many times as you can. Go back. You got some folks that are already in the league, y'all. I'm telling y'all, people have really been sharing. So share this. Share tonight's encounter. Share the two previous encounters. Share it on social media. Share it in your emails. Just CC us on the email when you share it so that we know you've shared it. And the folks that share it the most, we're going to give out a free hoodie, maybe 2 free hoodies, and a free T-shirt. So please share it, and we'll announce the winner of that on our next Well. We'll also announce it on our social media and stuff like that. So please be on the lookout. As we close, I want to give a shout out to Amplify Network, our super producer Jackie, who's in the back, who's been showing you all the stuff that comes on the screen. We are so blessed to have her doing this sort of, what did Tony Keith call it? He said it's a hip hop Zoom. So I appreciate that. Final word for the people when it comes to hip hop and church. How do we move forward? And so we'll start with Brendan, work our way to Pastor Tommy. I don't know. We might have to end with Kim B. Either one of y'all.
We're ending with
okay,
Kim B.
So Brendan, 3J, Pastor Tommy, Kim. Final word for the people, and let people know how they can find you as well on social media or website or whatever you have.
I mean, moving forward with hip hop in the church, what I feel is just the church, and I work in the church. I love the church, part of the church. But we have to move forward in the love that Christ showed the world. And if we do that, like, well, we won't have another problem with another culture. We won't. Um, we'll be able to adapt to the trends. We'll be able to transform our worship styles and adjust to whatever happens in the world. And you know what? In that spirit of love, what I'm gonna do, Ray, is I'll throw in a T-shirt or hoodie as well from our Black Methodist blog. And so whoever
Amen.
shares it the most will send me their info, and they'll get a I'll let them choose. We got 4 different designs that'll be dropping next month. Follow our page on Facebook and Instagram, Black Methodist. But I'll let you choose which one you want, and then we'll send that on the way too.
Dope. I need one.
Dope. Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
I need one.
Appreciate that, bro. And I'll announce sort of what our next encounter will be, because you'll be a part of that too. But yeah, Pastor Tommy.
So, how do we move forward with hip hop in the church? I think we just have to be our true selves. For those of us who grew up in hip hop, who love hip hop, who still love it, just be yourself. That's the best thing that we can do. For those of us in church who are in leadership, be open to receive something different. Be open to the move of the Spirit. Be discerning, as Pastor continued to say all throughout tonight. Hip hop is not just music. It's just a way of life. It's a culture. And if you go out and fishing in our communities, no matter where you at, hip hop has affected our community. So hip hop has touched Black, white, Hispanic, Italian, Latinos, Africans, Mexicans. It doesn't matter. Hip hop has reached all that. And as Christian believers, that's what we're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? We're supposed to be doing that. So we can learn from that. And so hip hop in the church, I think it has to do a lot with our leaders, our pastors. We have to make room. We have to make way for it. And I believe we can. And trust me, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just a matter, is it going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now? It's going to happen. So we might be old in our age, 85, 86, when it breaks through. But we can say, we was some of the pioneers that was a part of it. So I thank you all once again for allowing me to be in your presence. I've enjoyed these last couple of weeks with y'all. I'm excited. I enjoy the encounters and look forward to others. If you want to catch up with me, I'm always in Southeast DC at Brighter Day Ministries. I got to get my social media game up, but right now we just on Facebook, Brighter Day Ministries DC, on YouTube at Brighter Day Ministries DC. Our webpage is brighterdayministriesdc.org. And I'm on Facebook, Tommy Murray. So Pastor Ra, everybody, thank you, and I appreciate you, and be encouraged.
Yeah.
Oh, so we going like Miss Kim follow up. All right. I'm gonna do it just like last week. Dear church, I have my own name and own sound. I'm meant to be different. That was guaranteed by God coming out the womb as an infant. It's going to be this way until he say the will is finished. So there will be a certain way that I send out a sentence. For instance, listen to the way of how I kick this. Some will bang with it, many will probably keep the distance. Was never meant to be like you or the rest in attendance, and being just like the world wasn't the plan nor intention. But since we on that, why you knocking this? I don't preach like you, so why you sitting here knocking this? I'm not traditional, I'm anomaly, so you can drop it. God give me to do it, there's nothing you can do to stop it. I'm already hit within the body, there will be some vessels that's gonna criticize. Harsh judgment with a plank sitting right in their eye. You gonna rock with me? Cool. If not, just stop hating and let me do what I do. Love hip hop. I'm done.
Yes.
Go ahead, take it over,
that.
Miss Cubby. Shut him down.
You got a lot of hearts.
You just heard that flow. You just heard the dope words that he was flowing with. We are not asking you to take everything. I think that's the problem. Everybody thinks this is an all or nothing. If I take hip hop, I got to take Nicki Minaj. I got to take Little Kim. First of all, I don't problem with Nicki Minaj. Nicki, sorry, I said your name wrong. And Little Kim. See, I usually call you Nicki Mirage because I feel you changing yourself up. So now I'm anyway. No, not that way. Not in a negative. I think you reinvent yourself, and reinvention is part of hip hop, and you one of the few who are able to do that. Anyway, as I was saying,
that's good.
I think you think we're saying you got to take the WAP with everything. We're not saying that. We're saying use your discernment. Find the rapper, find the poet that fits what you're trying to bring into your church. Just like you found the singer, you found the choir, you found the preacher. You didn't just because he had a theology degree or he didn't, or he said one thing you liked at one service, that didn't give him the right to preach for you. That didn't give them the right to sing for you. There's nasty, quote unquote, because I have to use a word that somebody identified, nasty in everything. If you use your discernment, that's when you find the thing. You're not saying have everybody up in your church saying, well, just open the door and let hip hop run in. No, but you listen to Kirk Franklin, and if you think he's singing, you need to listen to his records again. I'm asking you.
Voice.
Exactly. He is rapping. They are singing. You accept that, so you have a level of acceptance for it already. You just choose to call it something else. So I'm saying let's stop the semantics and let's get down to some concrete here. Let's build a foundation in the church the right way. You didn't have no problem singing Jesus Walks when Kanye was singing it. Doesn't mean you have to say everything Kanye say and make it gospel. We're not asking for that.
Kirk Franklin said he was mad at God for giving Kanye that song and not him.
The thought of that made me laugh. But and they even actually gave him an award until they realized the rest of the album wasn't about Jesus. So like they say, you say you can rap everything except for Jesus, and here we are going, well, you can rap about it, but we won't have it in our church. So really, he was talking about church folk. He wasn't talking about secular. He was talking about us. So we're either part of the problem or part of the solution. There's no shades of gray in black land. And so that's our problem now. We black. There ain't no shades of gray. There ain't no fence in heaven. So you're going to pick a side now.
Right.
Did you just drop the mic?
Yeah. Like what else is that?
I'm out, y'all. I'm seeing.
If you want to follow
What
me.
was I gonna say?
Yeah. There's her shirt. That's her shirt right there. There we go.
Yeah, that's one of my shirts. A
I gotta
multifaceted
get
God
one from you too.
did not create one-dimensional people. You have more than one talent. Do you know them all? Or you put one blessing on the table and pretending it's full. So if you're a rapper, let me tell you something, you got another talent. If you're a preacher, let me tell you something, you got another talent. God didn't sprinkle one thing on your head. That's all you're acknowledging, though. So.
TD Jake says that best. TD Jake says people will trap you in a title. That's what TD Jake says all the time. They will trap you in a title.
But you can't get trapped in the title unless you were sitting there in the chair to be trapped. A trap can only catch something.
Lisa said Josh Mike's bars.
Like bars on bars.
Kim, how can they follow you, Kim?
You can follow my website is kimbmiller.com, and all my information is there. I made it good and simple.
kimbmiller.com. I love it. Listen, so again, you guys make sure you're sharing this with folks. Make sure that you've come on here, Kat. I see you. Make sure people are following. Share this with your networks, and I don't, everything you share doesn't have to be seen. If you share it through a text, whatever, it's not about, we are trying to get the word out, but we're trying to get the word out so that people can be blessed. And if you believe in Jesus and you believe that this does represent Jesus and the evolution of what church can be, we just want you to share it so that people can receive God in a different way. That's what we're really about. And that they can have these same conversations within their context. I know y'all know a lot of churches that should probably have this conversation. I want you to, I'm going to put it in the chat, Check out Dr. Tony Keith's website. He came on last week, 2 weeks ago, really shared a lot of knowledge about hip hop. Again, pray. Just so if you have these points, pray about it, research hip hop, educate yourself on hip hop, then listen, have the conversations in listening to God, right? Discern what God is speaking to your spirit and what God might be saying to your community, and then educate other people on what hip hop is. Share with people what you've learned. Point them to the same resources that you have found in your research, so you're not just doing something out of doing something. And then go to your own church leaders and say, with a real plan, y'all. Don't just go to your pastor and be like, well, we watched The Whale and it looked like hip hop's what we need to do. Don't do that. Research it.
Don't, because you're gonna look foolish. You're gonna make
man.
a fool of yourself doing that. Don't do that. Don't set yourself up like that. Because any real hip hop head gonna come in there and clown you. And I got jokes. So if I show up, I'm gonna have jokes.
Research what you're doing. Research the platforms. Get in touch with us. We know some of those platforms. Like I said, Kim B is always part of those different platforms. Brennan, I know you know some of those places, and I dare to say Julian and Pastor Tommy do as well. There's even a buddy, Pastor Tony Lee, who does Community of Hope. Man, they do go-go all the time. I mean, his church is the go-go church. If you look in, if you put hip hop church in your Google, and you're in the DMV, I think Community of Hope is one of the first places that come up. So that's how you know that that's what he's doing as a movement. Follow us on all of our social media. Join in with us. And again, reach out to us and let us know what your email is so we can keep you on our contact list of things that are happening. Next month in February, we're doing our theme for the year is out of the box. So we want everything we do out of the box. We begin a new series in February, and that series is going to be called Deciphering the Future of the Historical Black Church. Deciphering the Future of the Historical Black Church. We're going to highlight younger people who are doing some amazing things and creating history in the present. We're also going to have a conversation with some leaders about, is the black church still relevant? Is the black church still something that is relevant to our current culture? So join us starting February 11th for that conversation and that series that'll take us all the way through. I promise you, you do not want to miss it. Some great, amazing people, including some of the folks that are already with us today, will be on. So check it out. I love you all. You can follow me. You can follow me at Ray Jackson on most of our social media, Facebook at Ramon Jackson. I love y'all. There's nothing I can do about it. Thank you, Amplify Network, and we'll see you next month. All the Aquarius birthdays. Yeah, I see you, Donald. All the Aquarius birthdays.
Shout out to all the Aquariuses. Capricorn.
Shout out to Cole. It's his birthday. You know what I mean?
Oh, it is. It is. Hey, shout out to the man. Cole.
See, you slipping, bro. You
J.
slipping.
Cole. January 28th. Yeah.